God, yeah. All right, Chad Hammer. Welcome
Big
to
drink.
Grimdark Enlightenment. I am Kevin Deanna. I'm here with Chad.
What's up, boys?
And today we are going to be talking about the biggest annoying... I just think it's the most annoying meme in the whole lore, which is the whole heresy could have been prevented if only Big E had been a better father.
If Biggie was a progressive dad.
Right. If he had just been
practiced
like
soft parenting, if he was around more.
a Reddit Chungus dad who like listened to the feelings of everyone and like maybe got in touch with them and like took him camping once in a while and everything would have been fine. This idea that
Taught them to respect women. That's very important. That's the number one thing you got to teach your boys is like, look, you need to be soft, you need to be emotionally available, you need to be sensitive, you need to respect women. Or don't rape, right?
Guys.
That's what fixes it. Guys, if no one ever told you this, don't rape. We did it. Problem solved.
Look, I did a lot of thinking because Elliot Page had some really interesting things to tell me about masculinity, and he told me that masculinity...
When he spoke to me in his horrendous kazoo voice...
It brought up feelings that are strange and deeply confusing.
Got me feeling excited. Got me feeling confused. Not enough makeup. Too much penis made out of forearm skin. Got him feeling excited, feeling confused.
The gene seed implants have gone horribly wrong.
Bro.
But this is the whole thing, though, because they say, look, really what it's all about is the Emperor was like a bad dad.
Right.
And that's why you had the heresy, because the Primarchs rebelled against them and everything else. And this is just nonsense, and I think it gets to the core. This is really what gets to the problem with the whole culture, this idea that your dad is supposed to be your bud.
Right, and the idea of like, blank slateism versus determinism.
100%.
You know, that's like the real underlying thing under it is, well, why would it matter that much? Oh, the input is what determines the output in the environment behavioral level. But like, other than that, you could be anything. You could be a fucking rocket scientist. You know, you could be whatever. It's like, no.
I mean, for those of us of a certain generation, obviously the film and book, but this is one of the rare cases where the film is better than the book, I think. Fight Club, right? You know, our father is our model for God. If our father has failed us, what does that tell you about God? And if you think of like what your father was through most of history, right. He was basically this being of fear, and you were kind of unknowable. And if you were in the aristocracy or something, he probably didn't even like you. Right. Basically was just kind of like training you to take his place and everything else.
Pass my empire on to my faggot kids.
Yeah, right. I mean, look at how Frederick the Great's dad treated him, you know? But this actually worked because like what you were doing, family wasn't about like love. Even marriage wasn't about love. I mean, love was just like invented, right? It was about like a certain social role. It was about like you have a certain responsibility. And like this is what you're doing, and whether you're some peasant passing on whatever little plot of land, or you're a tradesman, or you're a king, like this is what you would do. And it was the job of the man to fight fundamentally and protect what he had.
Yeah,
and
the principal input of the relationship, it was not like affection or specifically teaching or learning environment or whatever else. It was displays of responsibility and accountability, and that being the most, like, if you're gonna learn one thing, it's that you are ultimately responsible, you're ultimately accountable. And these things are under your purview, and you have to act accordingly.
I think one of the biggest problems...
You ultimately fail as a man if you fail to grasp that and you fail to act in that way.
I think one of the biggest problems that people face now is, familiarity breeds contempt. The idea that your dad is supposed to be your pal. I mean, in some sense he is. Buddy is like probably the most common thing dads call their kid at a certain age, right? But, I mean, that's what I say. But the idea that he's supposed to be approachable... I think in many ways it sabotages the whole thing. I mean, think of any fantasy, any sci-fi thing, any superhero thing. How does it start? Your dad dies before you figure out that he's a man. Right. When he's still an ideal.
Yeah, it establishes the mythos of the idea.
Bruce Wayne would have hated his dad if he had made it to 16. He would have been like, you don't know anything, Dad. You suck. Actually, all this kind of stuff. It's because his dad was killed that he becomes an ideal and goes on to do all these great things.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, that's like a big turning point you see in people and like, younger guys for sure in that crowd. But when people get to the level of maturity where they start looking at their parents as, oh, you're just people.
Right.
Like there's no mythological thing around this. You're a man and a woman and you have problems as such. And you're just fucking, you're just people trying to figure it out because no one knows what the fuck they're doing.
Right.
So yeah, it's very understandable. And like part of that is kind of like a reductive, like sort of shitty Reddit meme, but ultimately it's true. Like they're not these mythological beings, but when you're young, they absolutely are.
They absolutely are.
You
They're
know?
God.
So
I mean,
there is like, not advocating for like, single motherhood or anything here, but
we'll get into that. Don't worry.
We will. Don't worry. We'll touch those single moms, or touch onto them, or touches upon them. There is definitely a benefit to. I don't even know if I want to say benefit, but you will see people that have had loss of an immediate parent or immediate family member when they were still in that young state before they were humanized.
Right. And that's actually better for it.
And you can see that the weight of importance, the understanding of this is an ideal to live up to. If I never really knew you as a man, but only as this mythological father figure, that's a much greater call to action, a much greater impetus.
Yeah, it's actually
to
better.
Lift yourself to a higher point than to know them like as a dude when you're 35 and you're like, come on, man.
Yeah, right. Well, and this is the thing, especially now when like you just take for granted that what is it? What is the statistic? 60% of families is going to fall apart. Right. So like, look, the odds, it's not to like shit talk anyone. It's just, this is the reality. You're going to know your
father rather than watch him become disillusioned in his gradual decline to simple semantic boomerism.
Right.
Like what's the ultimate win here?
Like eventually, like, the odds are, I mean, it's not to whatever, and I mean, like, who knows, right? Let's see where I am in 15 years. But like, the odds are you're gonna know your dad as like a divorced dad living in an apartment somewhere in 15 years. Like that's all right. Hell to that. Woo. But like, this is what's going to happen.
Man, we're really speedrunning that whole
thing.
Oh,
fuck yeah. I mean, we're just getting all this shit out of the way. Like, it's coming.
You're just in time for midlife crisis number 3.
I'm already skipping to that as far as, like, the music I listen to and everything else. Just going straight to it. But here's the thing.
It's good. Okay.
When you think
change is fucking good.
When you think of what the ideal of the father, right? And I think, Fight Club quotes, whatever. Talk about divorced dad shit. But it is fundamentally true. Like, your father's model for God. God is revealed to people as father. I mean, this is one of the things that, like, conservative evangelicals will stress, right?
Not to Jordan Peterson post or any of that shit, but, like, it is like a, this Jungian archetype of, like, the great paternal figure.
The Sky Father. It's an Indo-European thing. It's the Sky Father.
It's the idea of, like, where is power and authority derived from, this ultimate symbol of power and authority. And it's there because it is enforced as such.
This is the ultimate thing in terms of mythology, and especially with Indo-European mythology and everything else, and really all culture, it really does, over and over again, come down to Sky Father versus Earth Mother. Right? I mean, I don't think it's an accident. Where does Horus come from? Catonia. So, the Earth and everything. Yeah, right. And it slips out every once in a while. We haven't
examined that. That's kind of a real problem. Like, where's Horus from? The fucking Catonia.
These fucking Earth collectivists over here.
These Earth collectivists.
They got no fucking Aryan spirit. Their spirit doesn't go to the afterlife, Bob. They get buried in the ground like a fucking fanook.
Hey, they ain't got no ragu. With the gravy.
But, God damn it.
Guido Horus.
We know what he's up to.
New meme template just dropped. Guido fucking Horus.
When you think of the father who is completely unapproachable, though, in many ways, those are the fathers that people like more. I mean, this is the key. Right. If you think, to use like a very flippant example, but Barack Obama. I mean, what was the first book? The book that like made him well known and everything else. Dreams from My Father. Why does he love his father so much? Why does he idealize his father so much? Why does he look to his father? Because his father wasn't there. It is because his father abandoned him.
It is because some sort of repeatable pattern that we could have used.
Well, yeah, and I'm not even making a racial thing here. Although, if you know who I am, I'm obviously making a racial thing, but I'm actually not here. If it's because his father abandoned him, it's because his father remained an idea, it's because his father was off to do bigger and better things than hang around with his mother and everything else. That's precisely why Obama loved him. Yeah. His white grandparents, who actually went through the trouble of raising him and sacrificing him and everything else, he shit all over them on the national stage. Right. Precisely because they were so lame and gay as to actually take care of him, and therefore they're of no importance.
To not be motivated enough to.
They didn't have a great purpose or anything like that. They weren't off fighting racism and liberating the third world. So what do you care about them? I mean, I think this is what's actually at the root of because there's always stages, right? I mean, you have your your father is God, and then your father is a man, and then usually you're a teenager, and that's when you
angsty disillusion.
Right, and you look down on them, and then usually if all goes well, there's sort of the flip side of that,
some level
where
of
you
personal maturity, where you can understand the humanity, and then come back to like,
and also you identify with
right,
it.
like in spite of all the bullshit going on in the world and trying to figure it out what the hell you're doing as you're going, you did a pretty good job.
Right,
you know?
right,
like
yeah,
and that appreciation.
You respect your dad, you love your dad,
you really
right?
do come back full circle to it.
Right,
getting a maybe not deification, but like going back to for advice, for relationship, or hey, how do I solve this problem?
Right.
You know, like what do you think about X, Y, and Z? Because now you understand that. Oh, this was an entire process. Like he was where I am now, of like realizing.
And I'm not as smart as I thought I was.
Yeah, you're not as smart as you thought you were. You know, you're not super cockstrong going into it because you realize, like, you know, especially in fatherhood, a lot of your choices have pretty deep consequences.
Right.
You know, and like getting something wrong at this step, like, could carry on for long ways, and you know, you worry about that a fair bit.
One of the things they always say is like when your dad goes, that's the only man on earth who wanted you to be better off than he was, which is sort of the depressing thing. But I think that's actually true. Because every other man you're ever going to encounter, there's always the sizing up, there's always the rivalry and everything else.
There.
Yeah, there's always, but like, there's no competition with your dad. You have competition with your dad,
right.
but your dad doesn't have competition with you.
Right.
Except when you're doing something like playing basketball. I'll be fucked if I ever let my kid like beat me in anything like that.
Good thing you swore. So. For now, you can just fucking swat the ball.
Yeah, 5 years old. You little faggot, take this.
Get your fucking juice box.
Get back to Catonia.
Come back when you got some more gravy.
But here's the thing when it comes to the Emperor, because one, you have this sort of defeated version of masculinity being put up as an ideal. Like, this is what a father should be. And it's like, all you have to do is look around at the society today, and we know this is not true. Like, we know this actually is not how fatherhood should be. We know that the guys who are actually trying to be modern dads are basically broken in half. Their wives despise them. Their kids despise them. The world despises them. Like, it's not working out for anybody. So, one, it's just a lie that's being sold to you.
They're spiritual cuckolds.
Right.
Like, best possible
case. And the thing is, like, and I'm not shitting on them. Like, we're all subject to power.
It's not the attempt.
No, it's we're all subject to power. Like, this is what you're told to do.
Right.
So, like, you're probably not going to figure out, like, oh, wait, this is the wrong approach until you've already made all these horrible mistakes and fucked everything up.
It's a realization that, unfortunately, a lot of people on our side of things, like, we kind of understand it in our personal lives and, like, in how we see the world, but we have a hard time dealing with it on a prescriptive level, that most people need to be fucking told what to do.
Yeah.
Like, most
and unfortunately, most people are told to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's like Pareto principle. Like, I would say comfortably 80% of people probably need to be told what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and they're better off for it. It's not,
right.
It's not like in a disparaging way or a very negative way or something, but a lot of people find institutions and systems of thought and systems of power and morality prescribed to them to be comforting, to better order and organize their lives and free up time that they don't have to have these existential moments of crisis of figuring out, ooh, what the fuck do I do? It's like, I already told you what you do.
Yeah, right.
Don't worry about it. Just do it.
Right.
And like, even on the other end of being like, oh, you know, I had to figure some of my shit out. But like, also, I frequently will trap myself in shit that now I don't have to think about it. I'll sign myself up for obligation, for commitments of time, for commitments of behavior and patterns of behavior that make it so I don't have to wonder. You know, even at the level of, oh yeah, maybe you can figure your own shit out. You benefit from structure, from assuredness, from certainty, right? And
well, also, this is another one of the big lies, right?
Belief, like we talked about last show.
This is another one of the big lies, that like introspection and coming to terms with things and all this sort of shit. Like, no, that's a terrible plan. Like, not only should you not
swing the hammer, dig the hole.
Right. Not only should you not talk about your feelings, you shouldn't even know what your feelings are. Like, you shouldn't even have feelings. Right. They lead to nothing but trouble. They even, I mean, this is in passing, but they had like one of these Floyds who, what? It's true, and you know I'm right. They have one of these Floyds talking about like
into the mic.
Talking about therapy. And how, like, the therapist told her to, like, leave her or boyfriend and, like, all the friends.
The therapist told me I was so special.
Like, therapists.
I cut off my entire family, left my boyfriend, and now I only talk to my therapist. I've recommended that therapist to 4 different friends.
Right,
now.
right. And usually they figure out, like, they do figure out, like, this is a bad plan, but they usually figure it out, like, 2 years later when all this shit has happened. And it's like, yeah, like, you're actually being lied to, because the more you break, the way you make money in the society today is the more you break people down, the more people are weak, the more
you make them externalize their dependence on
yeah. And even in a general level, the idea of like functional social organizations or public spaces or something, if you can make it so you have to pay a lot of money to get what people in a previous generation could get for free,
right,
you make money off it. I mean, That's what the civil rights movement was about. But anyway,
I know. Yeah, well, I mean,
if you think
now as a consequence of that, we have to start paying money to have things that we used to have, like decent common spaces. Mm-hmm. You know, now that's where you
think about
communities and like $500 a year membership pools.
Right.
You don't want the pool party.
But no, the pool's closed. The pool's closed due to AIDS. But here's the thing. If you think about the emperor with his kids, and even that's, big asterisk, right? But let's just go with it for the sake of argument. One, say what one will about the emperor of mankind, but he's not obviously some defeated guy. I mean, he actually is like God. It's not you think of your father as God. Like in this case, he pretty much is a god, and like more powerful than you, even though you're basically a god. And
he's not concerned with building relationships with his kids with the powers. He's worried about what their duty and what their role is.
And this is one of the most important.
What will your responsibility be? And that's the level of interaction that he has at that point.
And I think there was another great example of the lore accidentally making a profound point, even though it was the opposite of what they wanted.
What their intent, sure.
Yeah, right. Because it was Abnett in the End of the Death, and I think it was in the first one, End of the Death Part 1. Well, Malcador is talking about, because Malcador was always like actually more of the dad, like the approachable guy and everything else. Right. And of course, they all fucking hated him for it.
The one that gives counsel.
They all fucking hated him for it.
Let me give you some advice, and then he gets he's the symbol of resentment.
Right. They all despised Malcador, even though Malcador was what all these memesters want the emperor to be, and they fucking hated him, even the loyalist ones. Right. So what does that tell you?
Malcador really is the bridge between the structure imposed by force, kind of like from the more male side of order and structure, mixed with the feminine, like predictable, safe avenues of this, that, the other.
The guy you can talk to,
right? It was
and
this
all
very
this,
blending approach where it's like it becomes like sickening or like reprehensible from both sides. Where it's like this just feels like kind of slimy. Like not that he's like a bad dude, but he's really representative.
I mean, Malcador has done some shady shit. I love Malcador, but he's done some shady shit.
But he's representative of this, creating structures, creating order and organizations through this very bureaucratic, like a bit more henpecking, a bit more like modern HR
also
workplace
like
style of leadership, as
sneaking around and manipulation. Right. I mean, that's his game, right? I mean, that's how he rolls.
I mean, you can't really like hang dong on dudes if you're Malcador and you're working with Big E. Like, you're not gonna LBJ at the urinal that dude,
right? But this is one of the keys with Malcador says, speaking to basically us. He says, like, and you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to make the emperor, like, more approachable, more Reddit and everything else. And Malcador does something like, the persona of the emperor, this militaristic leader. He hated it. He didn't like doing that. That's not who he really is. But his kids demanded it. That's what they wanted. That's what the Primarch sons wanted. So, like, I see the sort of, like, liberal reading. That's what they're doing. But
he was forced.
Right. Guy. But what is the actual takeaway? Yeah. That's what your kids actually want to see.
That's actually what you're supposed to
do. That's actually what you're supposed to be.
You're not supposed to do what you want to do. You're supposed to do what fucking duty calls of you to do.
Yeah,
like,
you actually
feel forced and compelled to do it. You're like, this doesn't feel like what I wanted. That's what you're supposed to do.
You actually do want your dad to be 20 feet tall, wearing golden power armor with a claw and glowing eyes. Like that actually is what you want. And you don't want him to be like, "How was your day, son?" You want him to like,
want to have a catch.
Yeah, you want to see him like blowing fools' heads up with his mind and shit like that, and pulling out a flaming sword and bringing ruin to people who look slightly different. Your
3-year-old has his die-cast little Tonka excavator, and he's making perfectly ordered trench lines with dog legs every scaled 3 kilometers so that fire can't run immediately down the trench and obliterate your whole defensive line. When you get ultimately taken over and boarded by the opposing enemy, you're like, well done.
Yeah. I mean, really,
defense in depth. Well done, son. That's what you want.
Really?
He doesn't get that by playing fucking catch. He gets that by strapping him to a TV and like Clockwork Oranging his eyelids open and showing him nothing but History Channel from 2003. That's it. If you want your nice little Rogel Dorn, you want your Perturabo, if you want your Mortarians, you've got to do that.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you bring up
education booth.
We should get into some of the specific relationships that they had with Big E, some of the Primarchs, because you bring up Perturabo, and he, I think, is in many ways the most interesting, because some of them, there's different reactions, right? Some of them we don't know.
Well, of course, as mild to severe autists, we would.
Well, yes, we
find
obviously
quite
sympathize with him the best. We're definitely going to do a whole show on the Iron Warriors. I love the Iron Warriors, but we don't
Bring
know.
up a model train set to like drive around the studio.
You
and
leave
pass
my
beers
fucking
one to the
model train set alone. Like that. That's for me. That's
trains
not
are
for any
fine.
of you fucking
Trains
people.
are fine.
Trains will run on time. God damn it. But
Inshallah.
theocratic model train society. But we don't know how they all reacted.
Azan starts to play.
Yes. We don't know how they all react. Like Sanguinius, we find out in Echoes of Eternity. We'll get into him in a second. But like some of them, the Emperor shows up and like we see like the Primarch like greet them. And sometimes like it's a joyous reunion. Sometimes there's a bit of friction and competition until they kind of figure out the pecking order. Sometimes it's hostile, at least in one case. But I think Perturabo is in many ways the most interesting because in the Primarch book about Perturabo is one of the better ones out there. Probably the best one, I think. He's obviously got this sort of weird resentment toward everybody else, even though, I think Arch has a good video on this, even though his adoptive father was like the tyrant of whatever, Lycos, whatever the place he was in, even though he was like a brutal guy, he treated him pretty well. Like he brought him into the court, he gave him a high position, he gave him whatever he wanted, he gave him access to all the learning and materials and everything else that this kingdom had to offer and everything. And Perturabo couldn't help but resent him. Probably because he was just so much smarter than everybody else, and so you just naturally look down on everyone.
Which is
but
like the experience of every like mildly intelligent 10-year-old in public school.
Right.
The moment you realize you were smarter than like the
Your teacher,
45-year-old fucking school marm that you have trying to, he's like, oh, no, you have to do your letters this way, and it's like, I don't give a.
I think 100% of the people listening to this had that experience.
Yeah.
When you realize that your hysterical female teachers are not just morally crippled, but also dumb. Dumb as bricks.
And you're outsmarting them before like your preteens.
Yeah.
Like this is, I think that's.
And the thing is, it's not because you're that smart.
Right.
Like this is critical. I do not have a very high opinion of myself, but I have a much lower opinion of public school teachers.
Lowest of the fucking low. Holy shit.
I mean, they're not going to. I mean, there's only two things that they're going to do. They're not going to help you. No. They're either going to, like, they're just sitting there looking at you, and you know the only things going through their head are whether they're going to try to rape you or whether they're going to try to troon you. That's it. That's all that's happening. That's what's going on in the public schools right now. So understand that. But Perturabo, he's having the similar thing, but the difference is he's actually smart. He's not like me. He actually knows how to do, like, basic math and things like this. And so when the Emperor shows up, he's actually crying with joy. And he makes all sorts of things about how he'd never betray the Emperor. And the Emperor tells him straight up, you're going to be my Lord of Iron. You're going to have the hardest jobs. You're going to do all this stuff. And Perturabo's like, yep, ready to roll. This is what I'm going to do and everything else. And we saw how that worked out.
Right.
But it's interesting that it's precisely because he recognizes the Emperor as a superior that he offers this devotion.
Right. But I don't know if it's because he saw him as a superior more so. Was it the idea of being frustrated by your surroundings and have somebody confirming that, hey, you were actually destined
you are
for
different.
You are different. You are destined for great things. You are important, like the call to action, of any classical hero story, of that moment of realization of like the young man, and in any of the classical
that kindly shepherd who found
right.
you was not actually your dad. You're right. Actually
any of those moments where it's like, whether or not that was there, and he's like, I don't know that he was especially grateful or pleased with the Emperor as it was. This was a symbol that he actually was different. He actually was important. He actually was. I
think he always knew that. I mean, maybe it's confirmation in a sense, but
I mean, without knowledge of I didn't know there were actually giant, enormous fucking super beings all over the place. I thought it was just me.
That's part of it. I mean, you actually get to have brothers.
Let's talk about why autists love this dude.
Yeah, yeah, right. I mean, one of the tragedies of Perturabo is that he has this knowledge, but he didn't have to earn it, and so in a way, he doesn't really appreciate it. I guess, he looks at things. I mean, when he's like a kid, right? I mean, first of all, he just kind of warps into consciousness where he's climbing up a cliff.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even know why he's there, or like how he got there. He just knows this is what I'm doing. But when he's brought to a thing, and they're like, okay, here's here's a forge or something. Like, he just knows how to make a sword. He just knows what this concept means. He just knows this kind of stuff. The knowledge just goes into him. But in a way that, like...
Because they're not blank slates.
Yeah, but
people.
But it alienates him from the process of learning and also from the process of being taught things. Because he doesn't need teachers. He just knows shit.
Right.
So how can you not come off as, like, arrogant and despising everybody else? Because, like... It's almost impossible.
Things in your wheelhouse just come to you.
You've never actually thought about anything in a way. Like, you're just knowing shit. And so it's very different than somebody. I mean, think of the thrill of discovery if you're like a mathematician working on some problem for 2 years and then you figure it out, how excited you'd be, how much you've like worked on it and the sense of gratification you would get from it. He never gets that. Right. I mean, I think that's why, like, he has this sort of contempt, not just for everybody else, but also himself. And so the Emperor is this guy who's going to come in and give him answers and everything else, but the Emperor fundamentally can't give him these answers. Because the problem's with him.
Answers, or at least challenges, that will have to get to the level of that level of thought and introspection and work that leads to those gratifying moments. Because when you don't have to work for it, it's not gratifying.
Yeah, imagine
if you
something...
can run laps around somebody, it's like, it's like...
Something given has no value.
Yeah, playing basketball with your kids, like, you can fucking swat that thing out of the air.
Yeah, all jokes aside, it's not like you would brag about it. Like, I defeated my 7-year-old. It's like, what the hell's the matter with you?
Fucking, that little tight fucking play basketball set. Bodied that fucking kid. Didn't make a single free throw. Fucking breaking his ankles on the court. Little shit.
In contrast, when you see the ones who had more of a struggle and who get something out of the struggle, I mean, I think there's a useful comparison here between... I mean, let's look at two who arguably one of the worst relationships and then one of the better ones, Corax and then Mortarion. They're very similar in some ways.
Right.
Because Corax was a slave. He was literally a slave. And he's brought up in sort of this kind of shitty, depressing environment, and he becomes, for lack of a better word, a freedom fighter, and he leads everybody to victory. And then the Emperor just shows up after he's more or less won the victory. And he shows up looking like a man. This is one of the really interesting things.
Right.
It's one of the very few times where the Emperor...
He's not
wearing gold.
He's not hanging dong. It's not the 12 pages...
Yeah, right.
The book where the trench coat opens.
Right.
Exposed in full force.
Yeah. And everybody else, all of Corax's guys, his comrades, they're all like crying and kneeling and everything else. And Corax is like, what the fuck? Like, what's so special about this guy? And the Emperor just very calmly is just like, yeah, this is who I am. This is who you are. You've got these brothers. He tells them about chaos.
Yeah.
Like, of all the fucking people, like, on the first meeting. Not even it's just like, so anyway, here's this thing I'm not going to tell anybody else.
Of like, the Imperial Creed and all this other shit.
Yeah.
It's all very rational. It's like, listen.
He just lays it on the line.
There's fucking demons.
Yeah. He's like, you're not going to believe this shit. And he just tells them everything. And Corax is like, all right, like I guess this is what we're doing.
And those demons out there, they got boobs attached. Got to look out for that boy.
But Corax is one of these guys, in theory, you would think, oh, he's freedom fighter, anti-authoritarian. But no, he very quickly comes to terms with it and is like, nope, this is the right thing to do. And, I mean, hell, he's still in the warp, hunting down Lorgar and everything else, being the spirit of vengeance. Contrast that to Mortarion, who is also a freedom fighter in a way, leading...
He just stayed mad at his dad forever.
Well, yeah, but why? I think the difference is because Corax won the victory first and then the Emperor showed up.
Right.
Mortarion basically got dared by the Emperor into a fight he couldn't win. I mean, he actually was the little kid trying to beat his dad in basketball. He's he's trying to beat the alien adoptive dad.
Alien warlock.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that guy was. And
his vaguely half Puerto Rican stepdad.
Right. Many people, I'm sure, can sympathize with this position.
Flicking cigarette butts at him. Oh, you got a cough, kid? Go and smoke in his fucking face.
Mommy's new boyfriend isn't as nice as the last one.
Don't talk about that piece of shit. Your mom has had too many boyfriends, twerp.
Oh, it's funny because Floyds are ruining their children's lives. Anyway, but he goes up to challenge him. He loses. I mean, he can't even breathe. He doesn't even get a chance to strike a blow. And then the Emperor just kind of anime style comes in with like a single blow and decapitates him or whatever the fuck he does. And that's the end of it. Yeah. So Mortarion basically resents him the whole time and says like, oh, he stole my victory and everything else. If the Emperor had maybe he wouldn't have won, but if he had showed up, let's say 2 years later and Mortarion does like his little military campaign and gets it, I think his reaction would be totally different because he wouldn't be coming from this place of like inferiority. He conquered his own world. He feels fine.
Yeah, maybe. I'm big into the idea of predetermination. You know, like I'm very anti the idea of.
So it couldn't have, regardless of how he treated these kids, they would have gone down. It would have gone down the way it went down.
I really think so. You know, I think a lot of it in the idea of the Emperor being, you know, at least somewhat omnipotent or having premonitions or being able to understand things at a higher level. I think a lot of the idea, it makes the criticism against it very foolish. Of like, oh, if only he paid more attention to his kids, it wouldn't be different. It's like, what are you gonna like?
But he
toss the ball around with fucking anger on, and then it's all gonna be cool. You know, you can see that with some, you know, a bit. You could make that argument, but you look at a lot, and it's like, no way. Like this is just the way that it was. He was fucked up, and you see that a lot. And like, man, if we honestly were to sit here and think back to, you know, because you were public school, right?
Yeah, high school anyway.
Yeah, you know, so I mean, that's even late. You know, for me, I was public school all the way.
Yeah, it was Catholic school, K through 8, and then public school in high school.
But even in then, you probably had some experiences where you could think back to being like
Catholic school, K through 8 probably explains a lot.
In second grade, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, or you know, a very young man, and seeing kids are like, oh, this dude's fucked. Like he's not gonna make. You can think back to be like, from a young age, be like, no chance.
Yep.
You know, like you're fucked. You're retarded. You have no impulse control. Like you have this shit in such a strong way, you simply won't overcome it.
And also, people don't change.
No,
people don't change. This is like one of the biggest lies. People, you know, you meet somebody when they're a little kid, they're basically the same the whole life, and they can convert to whatever fucking religion, they can adopt whatever. They're the same shit.
Expressions of self can change, but
it's the same shit.
You're not going to get out of it, you know. And I don't think that's a negative message.
No,
you know?
not at all. Not at all.
It's important we know who we are and where our limits are and where our shortcomings are, and we can moderate our behavior. We're not going to change our core persona, right?
Right.
We can change how we express it, the ways that we act. We can become more positive in how we act out on what makes us us. But it's not like I have to fundamentally change as a being.
I'm never going to become more positive.
Right.
On these sorts of things.
Well, I'm not asking
you are what you are. I mean,
yeah.
Well, let's bring up the ultimate example then, because this cuts to the core of it, which is of course Angron.
Right.
Because of all the encounters, Angron is the one where even if you are an absolute defender of the Emperor and everything he did was right, you're like, maybe there was a better way to handle this. Angron is, of course, another one of these ones who's a slave. His brain is mutilated from the beginning.
Right.
I mean, we actually get this sort of tantalizing glimpse of like what Angron was supposed to be. In a weird way, he was supposed to almost be like empathy was almost his superpower. He could like he was basically like the dude from the Green Mile. Like that was basically what Angron was supposed to be. He was supposed to be this hulking brute who could like somehow take the pain away from other people. What? That's what he was.
We're going after you a lot of worlds out there.
Angron's there with his little mouse.
Holy
and like doing this shit. But he gets the butcher's nails, and he gets mutilated and everything else.
He's got a chain axes, they have fucking spoons.
Right. So then he gets this sort of, and again, you can see the later lore with them throwing in the progressive stuff. He's got this little slave army, and of course the slave army also has women in it, because women are super badass soldiers and blah, blah, blah.
Course, it's like, was this the original intent when they were writing Angron? Or like, at first the idea of this shit was that, he was actually like very empathetic and caring and had all these powers, and he was just ruined by a bad environment and turned into this fucking animal. It's like, yeah, that's a bit.
Well,
that already seems post-hoc at the time.
There's a
like at
Gilliman
first writing. That's a bit much. For
Gilliman, of course. I mean, to skip ahead a bit, we got to get back to his encounter with the Emperor. But when he has well and truly gone on the path to treachery, he's not quite a demon yet, but he's part of the Heresy. When he encounters Gilliman, and Angron does this whole line, like, you know, and he speaks like a leftist, basically. Is like, what do you know, perfect son? You know, your kid's always screaming about courage and honor. You've never known courage. You've never known honor. Because basically, and he says, you were essentially brought up spoiled. You were brought up in the high courts of McCrag, whereas, like, I was a slave and everything else. Yeah. And Gilliman, I think, gets the better of the exchange because he says, you're still a slave.
Right. 100%. Because that whole point I would rebuke wholeheartedly. What does it matter? Oh, you've never known honor because you didn't have to learn it.
And how many other, if we want to play that game, how many other Primarchs, like, we're all, I mean, fucking Korax.
No, it's a shit-ass take. The idea that you've never known honor.
Oh, you were brought up, you had a hard life. Half your brothers had a hard life.
A struggle, maybe, but the idea that you can't know honor unless you had, like, you know, fucking dig human shit out of a pile of broken concrete every day for 22 hours a day. Like that's not how that works. Some people are inherently honorable people. It just comes to them. Some people learn it very early on. The idea that honor is this thing that's only picked up through toil and hard work. For some people, yeah. Some people have to learn it. Some people are inherently noble.
Well, it's not even hard work.
That's the idea of nobility and fucking aristocracy. And I don't mean labor. I mean like, effort and fucking...
Well, he makes it a class thing.
Right.
He makes it a class thing because he's like, oh, you were brought up as an aristocrat, therefore you don't know any better. And it's like, first of all, that's not true. Second of all, half of the guys were brought up...
Yeah.
Half of these guys were brought up.
It's not what nobility is, the idea of what actual honor is. It's not like, oh, it doesn't count that you know it because, you weren't fucking poor. You didn't have to struggle for this, that, the other. It's like, give me a fucking break.
I mean,
that really is a frustrating point for me. The idea that honor is this obsequious thing where people don't even use it correctly.
Well, and
it's the idea that it's exactly what you said. It's a class issue. It's people saying, well, because you didn't have to come up or struggle for X, Y, and Z, like it doesn't count for you.
But they all did have to struggle.
It's like they all did, and everyone does in their own fucking way. And then at the same time, it's like you think I don't understand honor because your learning of honor was like getting fucking smashed in the face. You did something stupid to like a giant idiot. And you had to learn how to not be an idiot in front of a giant idiot, and then you call that honor. That's not what fucking honor is.
Yeah, and more than that, I mean, to use something specific, like, oh, Gilliman was brought up in this, high society. He never had to do anything. Gilliman saw his adoptive dad betrayed and killed before his eyes.
Right.
And couldn't do anything about it. For all his power, for all his supernatural intelligence, everything, he had to sit there and watch him die. And then he had to go to the government and like swallow his rage and keep from killing this guy in front of everyone and try to keep the society going. Yeah. That's a hell of a lot more discipline and honorable than just like, well, let's all just burn everything to the ground because I'm mad.
Of like, I have to swallow what I want personally for the idea of a higher ideal. Commit to
why Gilliman's better.
Oh man, is that honor? Is that what that means?
The thing that you can say though about Angron, but this is the key. You can make
people writing the shit that have
here's the thing. Here's the thing.
The people that wrote this shit have never been in an encounter where like they had to actually show honor.
Right. But here's the thing with Angron though. It's not fully, I mean, not to be like, oh, his choice or whatever, but his brain is fucking mutilated. Well, that's the one thing you can say in his defense.
Same. Come on, bro. I got fucking metal in my skull. I got holes in my brain.
I'm give you the butcher's nails.
The butcher's stent. The butcher's cow artery from fucking ribs to brace of the skull. It's true. It's true. There's a lot of fucking titanium in there. Shit.
Yeah. He'd just fly into a rage and beat me to death halfway through an episode.
Well, I mean, if I didn't have
it's gonna happen.
I didn't have enough fucking alcohol.
I totally deserve it.
So a couple shows ago, we had an issue where what I was drinking was not good. This one is good. Chiladas.
Well, here's
sponsoring us, Bud Light. Bud Light, you do sponsor us if you give us like $400.
If you don't like it, if you don't like sponsoring us, you're gonna have to send us money. To
I'm not trying to monetize the show. I'm not trying to paywall shit. I like people to have good content. So we're blackmailing you, Bud Light. You are on notice. You are officially endorsing an obscure, quasi-racist, quasi-political 40K gaming podcast.
I mean, White Monster is definitely sponsoring the absolutely racist.
I'll clip this out. I'll clip this out for $400.
Mm-hmm. One thing about Angron, though, the Emperor.
Maybe I do have the butcher's now. It's just an extortion.
The Emperor
petty crime.
Handled it poorly, most will say, because they're about to have this final doom stand against the High Riders, Angron and his slave army. And of course, this begs a certain question, which is, how are these fucking High Riders going to defeat a Primarch? Like, this is never brought up to me. Like, why shouldn't he be able to, like, solo these guys?
Well, and the whole thing with, like, the Primarchs as slaves in these situations generally is, like, I mean, these dudes are, like, holding fucking titans, doing all this obscure shit. It's like, hey, like, dig the rocks. And it's like, what if I don't want to? Like, throws a rock at a dude at, like, Mach 8.
Yeah, it never made any sense. You got the Lion. The Lion was killing Chaos Beast when he was a baby.
Yeah, we won't.
And, like, Angron's a slave because, like, some guy is like, do this. Like,
yeah, well, we won't give them any weapons. Like, I'm pretty sure you could throw a rock fast enough, like, supersonic, to just pulp you in a mush.
If the Lion is fighting Lovecraftian horrors like 2 weeks into his life, I don't understand how Angron, fully grown with an army at his back, is going to lose to humans. So already this doesn't make any
callback to
sense.
that, which is the only time I've actually enjoyed any writing that has the idea of like the great beast or that shit. Because that was so fucking schlocky to me. I understand the intent and like it's vaguely Arthurian and all this other stuff, but the execution was horrible. The time it was good was in of course I'm blanking on it. I'm trying to praise it. The one of the very later Gaunt's Ghost book where they're fighting through this giant like labyrinthian underground tunnel system that's within a giant mountain, and they have these beasts that are coming in through warp portals that are basically like engineered in made and then teleported through the warp in here to act as chaotic deities. Which actually I think one of those fucking reoccurs in a later one. Anyways, that one's good. But the idea of the great beasts that are like hunted down in this other shit.
Well, apparently the lion can solo these as the kids, but Angron can't defeat humans. But what ends up happening, of course, is the Emperor essentially warps him away. And Angron gets, starts raging when he's brought up to the ship and everything else. The Emperor kind of calms him down.
Well,
hang on.
Because he can be imprisoned by like normal dudes.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you gotta calm down. He was a fucking do nothing.
That's the other thing. I mean, this is the This is just poor writing. But Angron says the following to the Emperor: "If you are so mighty, why not help us? Why not step down from your golden palacio down into the mud where the real struggle is born out? Instead, you rip me from my destiny, from the only chance I have had to ever grasp serenity, to fall a free man beside those with whom I twisted the rope and cast off the shackles." Now, again, why does he have to fall? And then the Emperor responds, "Because I am the Emperor, and my eyes are set upon this galaxy, all her stars and worlds, and not simply the wars or tyrants of any single one. So shall your eyes be set, as you take up the mantle you were brought into this life to bear, the mantle of Primarch, to command your legion, and unite the stars beneath my banner." And then Angron reflects that he needed Angron just like the High Riders did. Blood, sport on the hot dust, conquest of the galaxy was all the same. Two different masters, but in the end, Angron was always the slave. Angron says, "I died down there with my brothers and sisters," of course sisters, "freezing, starving, and free. Emperor no, creator no, all you will ever get of me is a shell, the ghost of Angron who never left Nuceria." And then the Emperor says, "Then a ghost will have to suffice." Now everybody says, like, okay, this is clearly the one that makes no sense, because if the Emperor had just warped down there and slaughtered the High Riders, then obviously Angron would be loyal to him forever. There are a couple things here. One, as you pointed out before,
speed run to being the petulant child.
Yeah, but as you pointed out before, the Emperor does have foresight, and we get this in one of the books of the Heresy that one absolutely must read, which is Master of Mankind, where he's explaining to one of the custodians about what the nature of it is. And he points out that, like, you can see that things will go wrong. You can see these possible futures, but you can't exactly predict why. So one has to consider the possibility that if the Emperor is nice, so to speak, that somehow Angron might be worse. Like, what if he saves Angron and then Angron goes on to say the Imperium is bad and he becomes like the traitor war master or something?
Completing this, like, fucking commie revolutionary bullshit down to the dirt of like leading his color revolution, essentially.
Right.
Of going off.
The Emperor, look, canonically, the Emperor has read Lothrop Stuttered. He understands the revolt of the Underman against civilization. He understands the danger, and he's not going to let this shit happen. He's not some fucking faggot Republican. He understands what the real issue is. So you have to accept the fact that the Emperor probably saw this. But the other thing to consider too is that he is trying to make a point, which is that, look, you as a Primarch were basically made for greater things. You're not here to just annihilate your personal enemies. Right. And the other thing is that Nuceria has complied. I mean, it does comply. It joins the Imperium. One of the other interesting things, though, and this is one of the things where you wonder how much of this was planned out, but the more you think about it, the more remarkable it is. What, of course, is Nuceria on the borders of? Ultramar. Yeah. So it could have very easily happened that what if Guilliman shows up when he's uniting his realm? The Emperor maybe gets to Guilliman a little bit later.
Prior to.
Yeah, and Guilliman shows up, because I will say this. Guilliman probably would have said, like, he would have recognized that this guy is in some sense kin and been like, yeah, I'm saving him. Yeah. You know, they weren't Ultramarines then, but whatever forces he had at his command.
We're just imposing our order.
Yeah, right. Like, you're not going to have slavery anymore. Like, I don't think there's any slavery in Ultramar, right? I mean, maybe there is, but like, it's not. I mean, if you look at,
how un-Roman of them.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, this is one of the things, right? I mean,
you look just outside and you're like, cool, you have the unsanctioned Coliseum, like the blood and sand, like this whole shit. And it's like, yeah, that's...
really, Angron and Gilliman are the two takes on Rome. You've got the nobility of it and civilization and everything else. Because we get a glimpse of what Ultramar is governed like during the Plague Wars, and it's authoritarian. There's no democracy. There's a secret police. There's a political police. But it's also better. I mean, it's better than what we have now, God knows.
Yeah, those things are nice.
Those are actually good things.
We have all those things now.
We have all those things now,
except,
but imagine like people who weren't completely worthless.
Imagine a world in which those things were applied to making your life better instead of actively trying to make your life worse.
Like, we actually don't have to live this way. You don't have to be... You don't actually have to be governed by like obese, trans, queer public school teachers.
The same institutions you're mad at. Imagine if they simply didn't hate you. The institution itself could be fine. It's like, I don't like the idea of like the government spying on me because I know that government hates me. But like, what if they wanted to make shit better?
Who, not what, right? That's what it always comes down to. Yeah. What about limited government? Like, I favor the biggest, strongest government imaginable, just with people I like in charge. Yeah, that's what I want.
100%.
Like, if you're arguing about means and not ends, you're just not serious. But in any event, if Gilliman is an authoritarian, but he is humane. Like, he doesn't like get off on cruelty, right? I don't think anybody would argue with that. No, so you can imagine, but here's the thing. Imagine
the idea of the just noble, right?
Right.
But surely never happened in history before. We don't have a model for how this could possibly fucking work.
But here's my point. You can imagine, and not to do like old history or whatever else. I mean, I think sort of the alternative heresies can be fun or whatever, but imagine you have Gilliman show up and reunite with Angron, free him. Angron's still going to be crippled by the nails and whatever else. There's nothing they can do about it. They can't get it out. But then the Emperor shows up and you have Gilliman and Angron. And Gilliman is kind of like taking him under his wing and trying to like help him as best he can. That leads to a very different scenario. And this brings me to the final point with the Emperor, is one of the things that we get at Valdor, Birth of the Imperium, at the end of Valdor, Birth of the Imperium, is Malcador says to Valdor, his humanity is already fading.
Yep.
And this was a price that we knew that would come. So when people are saying things like, well, why didn't the Emperor recognize this sort of thing? Because he can't. Also, because the power of autism, which allows him to command all these great things,
truly.
Like there is a cost to be paid.
Yeah, it saps.
And it saps one's understanding of other human beings.
But also him knowing this and having this and understanding what his children, whatever the Primarchs were, they never got the full dose anyways.
Right.
They were never fully human.
No,
like not even close.
As Korax comes to recognize, they're fundamentally of the warp. I mean that's more or less canon at this point. That they're basically warp deities shoved in the human shells.
The idea of like, they needed like the coddling of like your sensitive small, like young child, whatever. It's like, how in the world is that?
Well, we gotta. I want to get into some of the other ones too, but we have to bring up the obvious thing, which is that first of all, in the Alfarius book, this is a lie, right? That's how it begins, but. One of the things we're told, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but it kind of makes sense, is that apparently under the palace, they basically had
all of it. I can't stand it.
That entire
thing should have been written out. It should never have been.
The point is, there was some sort of a setup for the Primarchs if everything had gone well. Like there was a place they were all going to like live together. There was obviously some sort of program. Lehman Russ has in his book, I think it's Wolfbane, when they talks about when he has
in his
like
book, it's Wolfen time.
Yeah, right. It's Wolfen. That's actually what he says.
As he busts through the wall, it's like, I am the Warhammer 40,000. It's Wolfen time.
He says, "Bring me Thanos," and then then I rip my own head off. And I'm happier for it. But But he has a vision. He has a vision of what would have happened had he basically not got magicked over to Fenris, where he's basically a Terran, and he's like in uniform and everything, and he's still him.
I want a uniform.
Right? Yeah. I want a uniform. Great king. But they could have been brought up in a certain way. There was obviously some sort of a program. You can imagine how it would have gone down. But of course, whose fault is it that they weren't? And this is introduced to us very late in the heresy and everything else. It's not the Emperor's fault. It's not even the Chaos God's fault. It's a fucking Foyd's fault.
It's the Jungian
It's mom's fault.
Jungian archetype of the eternal single mother.
Right, because the mom she decided that like the guy who commands all of humanity and everything else, she could do better. You know,
Right.
she could do better.
And
She met the half Puerto Rican guy who like was kind of funny,
Right.
and like listened to her stories once in a while. And yeah,
And he was
shit
really
out
nice
of her
to the
once.
kids when like she was
Right.
there. When like she would go get her nails done, like he was like putting cigarettes out on their eyelids or whatever. But like they just fell.
And like,
you know?
yeah,
No big deal.
you could reign at the right hand of the commander of humanity, but you know what? It's kind of boring.
Right.
And I just want a bit more drama
You could Freud
and a
at
bit
the
more
highest point of left
excitement.
hand
You
and
know, like
right.
I just need that. I need that challenge.
It's not very titillating. You know?
No.
They need to be titillated. They need that novelty all of the fucking time. All of the fucking time.
And plus, and even though I've known
this
him,
is not about either of us.
even though I've known him for thousands of years, I never really knew him. And
Right.
even though I knew for
He
thousands,
was
even
just
though I knew
emotionally unavailable.
right, and even though I knew him for thousands of years and knew obviously what the whole point of the plan was, and knew obviously that these guys were meant to be generals, war is just kind of icky.
War's bad.
I just decided that one day,
You know,
even
I
though
just-
I've known about
I
it the whole
didn't-
time.
I've known about this for thousands of years, but I just never actually took the time myself to have the conversation about my concerns.
You see, actually,
I internalized it for about 5,000 fucking years, and then when dude was gone, I took the kids and ran.
I talked to my therapist, and my therapist
metaphor.
actually helped me unpack this trauma because I was actually traumatized. I was actually traumatized by this, and I didn't realize I was traumatized. I was also raped and didn't realize that I had been raped 5,000 years ago. Only now do I realize what had happened.
When I've retroactively
When I
removed
gave my genetic
consent-
material to the lab, that was actually rape.
Right.
Because even though nobody touched me, and even though I gave
Well,
it voluntarily.
it was right because I was like short on cash to pay for my.
Well, I felt bad about it 5,000 years
Yeah,
later.
Well, no, but that was the thing. Is like it's rape now because what I realized happened is that I was short on money for the lease on my Mercedes Benz, and so when I sold my eggs to the clinic, it was almost under duress, and so they took my gametes, my sexual
Right.
material, at a time where like there was a power dynamic that wasn't quite right, and like yeah, I know I sold my eggs off to this clinic, but really that was rape. Because how else am I supposed to lease my fucking Mercedes E-Class every fucking month while I don't have a job?
And also, like, I need that Mercedes Benz, or
Single
rather,
moms,
rather,
please.
my half Puerto Rican boyfriend needs the Mercedes
Yeah,
Benz.
he-
So
he
really,
needs it.
He needs it.
He needs it to take the car you can't smoke in and put cigarettes out on the fucking seat.
Right.
Because like you know, if he doesn't, he gets really mad at me about it. He's a good guy.
But this is why everything fell apart. I mean, fundamentally, and this is probably the biggest attack on the lore imaginable because it reduces the whole
And
thing
they
to
tried
the level
so
of a
much
petty family drama.
To institute this character, and it's like, congratulations, you've confirmed like every bias that any dude that has ever had
Shudhammer
kids.
is redeemed forever.
Shudhammer
And then
is
here's the
eternal.
best part.
Like-
Here's the best part. You introduce this character with like earth-shattering ramifications for everything, and then you have Erebus kill her.
Yeah.
So like we don't even know what the fuck her deal was, or like was there something else going on?
You know what her deal was? She was a dumb single mom. Banging some
Guess
fucking
it's
half Puerto
simpler
Rican
than that.
Throwing her kids off into the warp. It's like, hey, you know what? I figured the kids would be better to have no dad and be thrown into like
The mercies of evil gods.
government care and like social services and everything like that than to have you as a dad. And I can't really articulate why that it would be bad outside of I think it might be kind of icky. Like you have interests for them.
Right.
And I don't know if that's what I want for them. So we'll just kind of like throw them off.
I mean, it's a good
the
thing.
social
It's a good thing
services
Erebus
and
killed
see
her.
what
She probably
happens.
would have fallen in love with them if he had stuck around a bit
I
longer.
don't know. Well, I mean, like imagine if he didn't kill her, if he just fucking beat the shit out of her every other
Oh,
day.
she would totally be in love. Then you know, doesn't call her back. I mean,
know.
she's sending him letters. And
Imagine the next wave of Primarch spun out of that
Ugh.
pussy.
The Emperor does best with his kids, again, if we can use this, when he is what I think everybody wants to be. With like that the dad is not just dad, but also the Sky Father, which is fundamentally what the Emperor is. I mean,
It's a symbol of
because
authority,
Erda is,
but it's also structure. It's also assurance,
but also
it's the idea
unapproachability.
of stability.
Unapproachability, though, too. That's critical.
Right.
Because it's not that, like, okay, it's bad if you talk to your dad for advice. No, I'm not retarded. I'm not saying that. But one, the Emperor's not an ordinary dad. Two, Malkador kind of fits that role. Three, there is a certain, let's call it a loss of
You have your dad's funny friend to talk to.
Let's put it this way. There's a certain loss of aura when it comes to this sort of humanizing part. I mean, you don't, especially when, and this is not something we really deal with now, but for most of human history, it basically was, and especially if you're in the aristocracy or something like that, your dad is not just your dad, he's your sovereign.
Right.
He's your general. He's the guy who you have to obey whether you like it or not.
He'll send you. It's like, hey, there's an uprising over here. You and 300 of these other guys are going to go.
Don't disappoint me
or get killed.
Yeah.
Win or don't come back.
Right. I mean, if you think of like Philip, I mean, canonically, right? I mean, this is an interesting thing. Canonically, we know that the emperor is Alexander the Great, right?
Right.
Think of the relationship between Philip of Macedon and Alexander.
Well, I mean, Philip
they almost there were some tough times, right?
Philip wasn't even his dad, right? The whole lore is his mom fucked
Zeus.
Once Zeus turned into a snake, and then some dude was it Philip who saw the whole thing, or like was that the whole deal?
Philip went to the story, and again, there's lots of stories, but Philip went.
He peeked through like the crack in the door to watch Zeus as a snake fucking his own.
No. He wanted to.
And lost the eye as vengeance. Who
no,
was that?
he wanted to have her one night because keep in mind Philip had other wives, and basically he pulled back the sheets and there were like snakes everywhere, and he just like was repulsed and kind of went away. But there were obviously a lot of political tensions with Philip Macedon and his various wives and everything else. And there was this one point where he married a Macedonian noble, basically the daughter of a Macedonian noble. And this Macedonian noble at a banquet said, "Now we can have a legitimate heir." And Alexander lost his shit because he basically said, "Are you calling me a bastard?" And then Philip said, "Okay, like, it's my wedding, calm down, apologize." And Alexander basically was like, "Fuck you." Philip goes to kill him, but he's so drunk he stumbles. And Alexander says, "This is the man who's going to lead you to Persia. He can't even make it from one couch to the next." And Philip basically starts screaming he's going to kill him and everything else. Alexander leaves. Eventually he comes back and they kind of make up. But this is what life is like in these sorts of situations. It's not like happy-go-lucky family time. And this is one of the reasons I actually don't believe this, but I mean, this is why some people think that Alexander was the guy who actually killed, or did the plot to kill Philip of Macedon.
Right, and it very well could have been at the time.
Could have been his mom. Yeah, I mean, that was sort of like in the Oliver Stone movie. It's sort of implied.
She's a snake fucker.
Yeah, she is a snake fucker, and she also had everything to gain from it. She would have been moved aside.
She had like the old time version of like.
Maybe she was Erda canonically.
Well, that's an option. The other option is since she was a snake fucker, 100%. She had the tattoos on the back of her legs. There were like the laces coming up in the bows on the back of the thighs.
Mm-hmm.
Snake fucker tattoo. You ever see that? That bitch consorts with servants.
God.
So do with that what you will. I would say stay away.
That's opening up. That's opening up a crippling vulnerability in Kevin. That's just like, why do I always go for the snake fucker? Why do I keep fucking up my life? Oh yeah, I always go for the snake fuckers. That's probably
your duty in this world is to spawn the next generation of great men to lead us forward. And in doing so, you have to find as many broads as you can to fuck snakes.
Yeah, no, nothing can go wrong. I strongly advise you get advised with Foids who are into like weird occultism and everything else. Like there's nothing could go wrong.
Great man to come. If you believe our society needs a new Alexander the Great, someone's got to fuck these snake fuckers. And
you gotta find some chick who's into like Thelema and planetary astrology or something, and just throw your whole fucking life away. It's really the only thing you can do when you think about it.
Some chick that fucked some dude in a band 6 weeks ago. Because their personality is as intransigent as the tide.
They need that. They need the drama, man. They need the excitement.
They need to absorb their personality 100% fully and completely by their immediate surroundings 6 seconds at a time. I really like this
In
band.
contrast,
how long have you been listening to? Oh, this guy that piped me out last night had me on his car when I was going home. Now I'm actually a really big fan. I have all their albums.
Incredible. Well, let's go through some of these other ones here real quick because I think this
Before
is really.
We get back to hunting down our snake fuckers outside the snake shed.
Well, the snake fucking thing. I mean, it seems like a tangent, but it's not because really not. Fundamentally, why is the Emperor's relationship with his son so fucked up? It's fundamentally Erda's fault. More than anybody else. So, like, you have to actually talk about this because if you're trying to explain everything, it's like, yeah, this is what happened. But here's some of the other interesting things. I mean, there is still an element of these guys ended up where they ended up because of chaos gods, because of magic, because of fate. Like, we know, for example, that, like, Fulgrim and the Khan were switched in a weird way. That they ended up in, like, different places, which is one of these kind of interesting little things. And we also know, as some sort of spirit says to Lehman, where Lehman is going on his little, Thor-like spirit journey going through these different things. And the spirit says to him, do you think it's a coincidence that you ended up on this sort of like fantasy world of Nordic myth where everything seems to match up so precisely to you? Like, do you think that just happened? Do you think that this is just like, it's just some wacky coincidence and like it just, of all the places to end up, this is where you ended up?
Right.
And Lehman, that gives him pause. I mean, Lehman is way more thoughtful, obviously, than he presents himself. But it's pretty interesting when you think of, when we know what the Emperor is, the way the kids, if we can use that term again, respond to him. Lehman, I think, is one of the most interesting ones because he's first of all, he's found second.
Yeah.
Second.
Very early.
And he meets Horus, and Horus is the one who's all insecure and weird about it because now his privileged status is messed up. Lehman comes to understand very quickly and says this to Horus. He's like, look, I've always known I was not of Fenris. So he's like, knows. And then he says, okay, yeah, this is what I was made for. This is my purpose. And then he just goes with it. Like, there's never, the only time Lehman really questions his role is when, again, he goes on this kind of crazy spirit journey. And at the end of it, he basically says, no, this is my role. The only difference now is I'm voluntarily choosing it in some sense.
Right.
But practically, I'm not changing at all. And then he goes off on his, again, it seems stupid in one sense, like let's leave Terra and try on this crazy suicide mission for Horus, but it does actually save the day if you think about it. So he does do his job.
Yeah.
And if you think about some of the other ones, really the ones who accept the nature of things do the best. Dorn is obviously another one.
Right.
Dorn is one. He is not, and he's not one of these ones who like forgets his roots. To the end of his life, he always wears that cloak, right? Where does that cloak come from? His adoptive grandfather on Inwit. He doesn't forget that. He doesn't like he doesn't say, oh, I'm better than these people. I don't care about them or whatever else. Like, no, he's very human in his way.
He is oddly humanized, considering like he's not supposed to be very humanized. Like this
in the Siege, he comes off as the goat.
Right.
Oh my God, he is so good in the Siege.
Right. He's actually written as like as a real dude.
He's incredible. I mean, he goes from like I am fortifying the palace, like that kind of shit. Like he goes from that to easily more than Sanguinius even. Like the guy who you would want to like know the best just because his personality is so fascinating.
Right.
And more than anyone.
And also a big reason it is that way is because he's the guy that takes on the idea of duty. Of responsibility.
100%.
It's like,
100%.
He gladly and openly accepts burden and responsibility. He understands it comes at cost. He doesn't sit there and like lament it.
Nope.
It's like, this is what I have to do, and it's also what must be done. Like, in
yes.
a way. It's not just the acceptance of like, oh, I have to do it, I'll do the thing. It's like, no, this is actually the right thing to do, and like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm in.
He understands the stakes. He understands his own limitations, which is very rare for the Primarchs.
Right.
Like, he understands, like, when he's dealing with this warp fucker, he understands that, like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, this isn't my brand.
Yeah, like he doesn't like freak out about it. He doesn't go like Perturabo and like, no, I alone will figure out a way to dominate it and everything else. He's like, nope, this is my job and everything else. And he also has a sense of fatalism.
Build a fortification around this.
Yeah,
demon.
all right, not to whatever, but my favorite part in the Heresy and the Siege in everything, whole thing, like one of the few parts where I was just like, fuck yes, like this is what I'm here for, is when Valdor is doing this kind of like doomed last stand against Abaddon and all these other sons of Horus who are coming at him. And then Dorn comes out of fucking nowhere to like join them. And Valdor's like screaming like the seventh is with us and everything else. And Dorn's ruining fools and everything. And he says like, look, you're coming here just to die, Praetorian. And Dorn says there are worse places to fall. And it's like, yeah, like that kind of like, I'm going to do... Right. Even if I'm going down, like I'm going down doing the right thing.
Right.
How many of the other Primarchs just like don't think that way?
I know. And that's why I think ultimately it's ingrained. And the whole criticism, the whole complaint of, oh, the Emperor could have done better as a dad or whatever. It's like, no, like the genes were what the genes were.
Yeah.
The seed was planted. And also fate was written long before any of this shit happened. Like everyone had a role, everyone had a part to play.
It's not just Erda. There was obviously something else going on, because how else do you explain these guys going where they went? And then let's look at some of the others here. The ones who he had probably the closest relationship with, the one who he clearly shared his consciousness with the most. Magnus. Yeah. I mean, they're fucking meeting in the warp before they ever met in person. They're going on like crazy psychic adventures in the great ocean together. What good did that do?
Yeah.
And you could be like, okay, yeah, Magnus was like, he meant well when he like blew up everyone, he ruined everything. But like at the end of the day, Magnus is still the one who, at the end, is still trying to destroy the psychic barrier. He's still trying to bring everything down at the siege. He still turns on him. I mean, you can dress it up however you want, like, oh, good intentions and all the rest of it. I mean, Vulcan, I give ADB a lot of Aaron Bowden a lot of credit for this. I mean, he really, quite literally, because it's Vulcan doing it, takes a hammer to the Magnus did nothing wrong thing.
Yeah.
Where Magnus keeps coming up with all these, like, excuses and justifications. And Vulcan, who is pretty level-headed and doesn't have any illusions about what the Emperor is or anything else, is just like, no, this is bullshit. Like, all your reasons are flippant and wrong. And, like, here's why. And
This is a you problem.
yeah. And Vulcan is another one of these guys who he understands. He's not... He doesn't thrill to the idea of military conquest as such, the same way like Lehman does. Right. Obviously, he's merciful. I mean, that he's empathetic. Like, this is what he is. But he also just understands, like, no, this is what needs to be done. This is how it is.
He's duty driven.
Yeah, and he has a sense.
A lot of them are. If you look at the ones that are successful, because they all have talent, right?
The Lion,
they all have skill. They all have a job. They all have a role they're supposed to.
And they
fulfill.
know what their role is.
Right. The differentiation is the ones that have that sense of duty.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that aren't about them or about this angst or this rebellion or this idea of this isn't fair or we could do better. But the simple acceptance of duty, honor, loyalty, responsibility, right? Those ones succeed. And they had that basically from the get. Right?
Yeah.
It's not something that they learned from spending time with the Emperor, that they learned from their time as a Primarch. They had this. That was their character. You know, and so in a lot of ways, yeah, it is the blood matters a lot more than the environment does. And like, sure, I'm not saying like don't spend time with your fucking kids or like don't build a shit, but like, man, there's people who are going to be good and you can invest time with them and that makes them great. And there's people that were going to be pieces of shit. You can invest time in them and they're still going to be pieces of shit.
One of the scariest thing about being a dad is also the most reassuring thing, which is basically that like not everything is really up to you. Like, yes, if you're a fucked up idiot, you're going to fuck up your kid, obviously. Right. But the thing is, if you do everything
if you're
more
genetic detritus.
Yeah, well, and it's not even that. I mean, I'm sure there are some really like good parents out there, moms and dads, who have like fucked up serial killer kids, but it's not their fault. I mean, it's just luck of the draw to some extent.
Right.
But the thing is, if you whatever you do, I mean, as long as you don't like really fuck it up, right? Then they're gonna
send them off to be like
obviously
like child stars on a Disney TV show.
right. But like leaving that, but nobody does that, right? I mean, like leaving that.
Unfortunately, funny people.
Some do, fine.
That's
but
what
like
fed the Weinstein brothers for a while.
But the point is, they're gonna end up the way
shoveling these kids' fortunes into their maw.
They're gonna end up the way they end up. You know, like it's not. You can only fuck it up so much unless you really fuck it up, and you can also only like save them, so to speak, so much.
Right.
I mean, I was thinking, I'm going through the whole list here because I think what you said is absolutely correct. I mean, really, it comes down to this idea of accepting your role, accepting your purpose, as opposed to being like, no, I can come up with my own identity, which is a great line of liberalism.
And if we look at the heresy, it's like, if we want to see allegories, if we keep looking at the idea of the Emperor as a father and in the Primarchs as children and sort of the heresy being almost a coming-of-age story.
Yeah.
And the idea of here's the split between those that hit that turning point in their story, you know, went from young men into adulthood, and at that transitional moment, some of them accepted their duty and responsibility and some of them repudiated it. Some of them denied it, like, I will go my own way and I know better than what my role is. I know better than what.
And even the ones who accepted it had flaws, but they...
Yeah. And a lot of them, like most all of them, are fucking gone through.
Well,
right? It doesn't mean that they win. It means that they did right.
I mean, look at the Lion.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately,
the Lion is one who clearly understood his role from the get-go.
Yeah.
And there's that great line where he said, you know, loyalty is its own reward, right? Right. And there's this great, and obviously,
which is 100, like unironically 100% true. Outside of the setting, outside of anything.
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
Loyalty is its own reward. You will never be disappointed by going, man, I did right.
Yeah.
I stuck by the thing I said I was going to do, and like regardless of the outcome, like I did the right thing. Fuck it.
Yeah.
You will never be led astray by that.
And he also agrees with the larger purpose too. Like, I agree with you, obviously. Loyalty is its own reward in that. But it's not, for the Lion, it's not just loyalty in the sense of, well, I gave my word, and even if I'm wrong, I gave my word. I mean, that's like a Nordic saga, right? Like, keeping my word is going to fuck everything up, but I kind of have to do it. Like, that kind of shit, right?
Yeah, I put myself on the clock. So
right. Like, but if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have done this shit. The Lion is different because the Lion explicitly says, no, nobody else other than the Emperor can be the Emperor. Like, he understands the idea of the greater good. Contrast that to somebody like Perturabo. Contrast that to Fulgrim. Fulgrim and the Emperor were quite close.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I
Fulgrim
mean, they
Fulgrim was the one who got to wear the
Emperor's
emblem.
children.
Yeah.
It was the
I mean, the pre-fall Emperor's children are fantastic.
Yeah.
And if you look at, I mean, there's one last guy. I mean, we can obviously get into Kurz. Kurz deserves, I think, his own episode in some sense. But there's one guy, because I'm thinking about everything that you've just said.
That's the flip side of the ultra autistic fan worship.
Well, also
Rob on one head and the fucking Night Lords on the other.
I mean, the thing with Kurz is one could argue that he understood his role a bit too well. He understood what he was made for and thought to himself, well, there's nothing I can do other than that. And so it fucked everything
it would have been
up.
a lot easier if instead of having to resort to the means that he did, if he just got like the might of the Imperium and had industrialized bulldozers and pits.
Yeah,
right. It would have been much smoother, much more organized, less kind of emotionally involved. It would have really smoothed the whole thing over. Probably a little bit less problems overall.
Last guy I want to bring up, just because
what I'm trying to say is bulldozing almost endless numbers of people into pits is actually the kindest, safest option.
I'm pretty sure Kurz literally does that in one story, though.
Yeah.
Like, he absolutely does.
And that's the safe option. We're at the point where, like, this is kindness. Bulldozers and pits.
As he says to Sevatar, none of the other worlds were as tranquil as mine was.
Right.
But the one guy who does not unthinkingly accept his role, who questions it, in fact, he asks a question that none of the other Primarchs, not even Angron asked, which is when the Emperor comes and gives the pitch, like, hey, I made you, this is your job, this is what's going on, here are the stakes, blah, 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 blah. The only Primarch who says, well, what if I say no? What if I just don't follow you? Was Sanguinius.
Yeah.
Sanguinius is the only one who says, I'm not sure I agree with this. And furthermore, the people who I am with now are not going to be part of your project unless they want to be. You got to leave them alone. And I'll go with you, but only if you make me that promise. And he understands that he has a job in some sense. He has misgivings about the job, but he understands his role. But in a way, he doesn't just accept it the way Dorn does. He doesn't accept it the way Lehman does. He certainly doesn't accept it the way the Lion does. He chooses it in a much more full way. Right. Because and he does it with misgivings. I mean, as he says in that great speech at the Eternity Gate, all he wants to do in some sense is like fly away and like literally fly away and like not have to deal with any of this shit. But what makes him heroic is the fact that he chose this fully. And that's why what's so interesting about Sanguinius, and Lorgar of all people is the one who points this out, Sanguinius's loyalty to the Emperor comes from a place of, I don't want to say self-hatred, but deep misgivings about his own nature. Because he worries that he can be corrupted. Right. It's because he act like everybody else sees him as the great angel. It's because he does not see himself as that he is therefore loyal. Right.
And there's of course like a big literary element in the idea of like what's presented as perfect has this, sort of like crippling, not crippling, but the idea of deep conflicted internal self-doubt, everything that put onto it. But
I like to think that's where my greatness comes from.
Right. But I mean, that is an incredible motivator to be like, if and a lot of us would probably understand this, the idea of if I left myself solely to my own devices and did not commit myself to things, I'm eminently corruptible, right? Mm-hmm. I could do all kinds of like awful, dumb, evil shit. If I just didn't care, it was like, I'm not going to tie myself to things that are important. I'm not going to put myself upon things that give me structure, that give me order, that give me something to work towards. I'm not going to devote myself to ideals that I think are higher than myself. Without that, of course, everyone's corruptible. And the more powerful you are, the more corruptible you are ultimately.
Especially if you're Sanguinius, who, right. I mean, pound for pound is probably the best of all of them, except for maybe Horus. And, one of the things that, Horus could beat everybody else. I mean, as we find out, even Lehman was able to defeat Horus 1v1. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he only hesitated. That was his one thing. I mean, to bring it home then, I guess the question is this. I'll leave it to you. I think that the Emperor was actually a better father given his role and given his forethought, and also given the fact that he was losing his humanity as part of his role. And this was something he didn't want to do, but it was just sort of inevitable.
Right. And as he had to become more dominant, more of a figure of the warp, the human side of him, and the tied more to like, the flesh and blood of it really was slipping away.
Yeah, and one of the remarkable things is, again,
it's like, wow, what a metaphor for like, your parents aging, their roles changing, not being able to be here as a physical support, something to actually show you.
They become more of an ideal.
Right.
And in a
an
way, we want people to become more of an ideal than an actual person. I mean, that's one of the things. Like there is certainly something to be said
ideals are much less fallible than an individual.
An ideal can't let you down.
With it, but
yeah,
the ideal, once it's cemented, it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And people can fall. You know, as Evelo says, if a person falls short of the ideal, like that doesn't invalidate the ideal.
Right.
But the emperor becomes essentially an ideal. But then when people say like, "Oh, well, he should have been a better dad" and everything else, like with the partial exception of Angron, and again, I think there are more things going on there. Yeah. And also, once your brain is fucked, like you're fucked. I mean, it's not.
Thanks.
Well, when you get the butcher's nails, then like
no. I mean, that's like on my end. That's when I'm like, you know, I kind of bounce that off. To be like, I just don't accept the burden of responsibility on the emperor for that. I don't. You know, it's like maybe he didn't see it was going to happen. Maybe he saw, if I went one way or the other.
Angron could have acted differently.
Yeah.
And Kurz could have acted differently.
He was a giant fucking Primarch and like thrown a rock through a dude at Mach 20 and to be like, actually, no, I'm not going to do that.
Well, yeah, this is. I mean, that gets to the.
This is like, what the fuck.
Yeah, that's just bad writing.
It's writing that this happened because it had to happen because I already decided the story was going to go this way. Now find a way to cripple these superhumans into ways that it's a just.
The plot
story.
requires it,
right? And so that's where, like, you know, if looking at it through like the meta lens and like the ethical and moral lens and sort of the more mythological lens rather that we look through a lot of the shit. That one is very easy for me to write off because it's just fucking nonsense.
Well, this is one of the things when you see the like the Dornian heresy or some of these old heresies that go out there. Usually, the way the things that the points of divergence, they pivot upon these different treatment for the emperor. Like, oh, well, what if the emperor had invited Perturabo to be the Praetorian instead of like Dorne, and then Perturabo becomes loyal? Like, I don't think that would have changed it. Like this is the fundamental thing because ultimately character is destiny, and like had the emperor done Y instead of X, I don't think it would have changed who these people were.
Well, it's not going to change because your blood is your fate, right?
Yeah.
Your genes is your destiny. You are pre-written at that time that you come onto the fucking earth, and everything else is just shaping the expression of that.
Yeah.
It's what tools do I have to express my destiny? What ways do I have to fulfill my fate? I already know. You may not know it, but you already are who you're going to be, and your experiences in your environment, life is just how do I shape that tool? What kind of edge do I put on it? How do I implement it? But it's not creating your own destiny. That's such a big lie.
You
are who you are. You do not have free will. There is no blank slate. Your kids are who they are at the moment that you fucking make them.
Right. I mean, one of the things
you can give them the best inputs to make them the best tool possible to set them up for success in the world, to do everything you can to make them the best versions of themselves that you've already made, but you already made them. That already happened. There's no changing that. Not for them, not for yourself, because you know it. If you try to change yourself in that way, it's like it's not really going to happen, right?
Right.
Why would it happen to them?
Well, and if you're like, oh, well, didn't you say Sanguinius chose this thing? It's like, well, to respond with what Big E says, Sanguinius says, well, what if I refuse? And the emperor considers this for a moment, and he says, you will not refuse. I know your soul. There you go. I mean, like choice and fate are the same thing when you break it down enough.
Yeah, because there isn't choice.
So let's leave it to you then. I mean, when we see the way the emperor is portrayed, I think there was an effort to deconstruct him, as you've seen in the lore for more than a decade now, deconstruct the idea of the emperor. And like, if only he had been a Reddit dad, everything would have been fine. But in a way, it actually critiqued the Reddit dad. Like that it's actually better that he was the way he was.
Again, every time they tried to show this, they end up showing classical mythopoetic ideals that everyone understands because ultimately they're trying to write a mythic story. And they'll try to put whatever filter on top of it that they want, but they can't help but recreate these things that show, I know you're trying to say that if he was a better dad, things could have been different. But what you're really showing is that the fate, the destiny, the character of these people is sewn into them, ingrained, and is immutable.
Yeah.
That is what it is. There's no changing that. So thanks.
Yeah, right.
Ultimately, like, Judge redeemed yet again.
I think that's a good place to end it. If there's one thing we could say for sure, we do not want an approachable sky father. We want a god. All right, guys. This was Grimdark Enlightenment. Catch you next time.
Folks.